Obama is preparing to designate the Stonewall Inn in New York as the first national monument dedicated to gay rights.
LGBT history is not littered with historic, larger-than-life figures. Rather, it's a history made by each and every individual who works for equality. There should be a plaque placed where Sarah came out to her dad, where John explained to his kids that he was gay, and where Frank tried to explain to his grandma what it meant to transition.
The Stonewall Inn, the Greenwich Village bar that played a big role in the gay rights movement, was given landmark status by New York City last year. But now the Associated Press is reporting that President Obama is gearing up to designate the spot as a national monument. The report cites two individuals familiar with the administration's plans who say that the president is considering proposals that would involve cordoning off Christopher Park, a small sliver of land near Stonewall Inn, and some of the surrounding areas. Stonewall was the site of a police raid in June of 1969 when patrons fought back, sparking protests in New York City. The uprising, widely considered to be the start of the gay rights movement. The national landmark status could be imposed as early as next month, just in time for Pride Month and the city's parade.
Now to the legal showdown in North Carolina over transgender rights and the use of public restrooms. The state now going head-to-head with the U.S. Justice Department as they sue each other over the so-called bathroom bill.
Good morning to you, Robin. State legislators here who pushed for this controversial new law are telling the federal government this morning that they're holding firm. This morning, the culture war over gay rights and public accommodations for transgender Americans is heading to federal court. In her lawsuit against the state of North Carolina, the U.S. Attorney General says that HB 2, the state's controversial law, is state-sanctioned sex discrimination. She compares it to North Carolina's racist past, saying it removes protections for gay families and keeps transgender residents from legally using the bathrooms they need.
This action is about a great deal more than bathrooms. This is about the dignity and the respect that we accord our fellow citizens.
In a lawsuit of his own, North Carolina's governor is calling this a baseless and blatant overreach and argues that transgender residents are, quote, not a protected class under the law.
The Obama administration is bypassing Congress by attempting to rewrite the law and set basic restroom policies, locker room policies, and even shower policies.
The federal government is still threatening to hold back federal funding for state police and the University of North Carolina, arguing that if both obey the new state law, they're in violation of federal law. In a statement, the president of the school says the university is truly caught in the middle. At the same time, the list of businesses leaving the state in protest keeps growing, along with the list of entertainers canceling concerts, from Pearl Jam to Nick Jonas and Demi Lovato. On the other side, families are taking their fight to stores that have agreed to accommodate transgender residents, posting these videos online.
Target, this is your warning. You will be judged according to God's standards.
Target's new transgender bathroom policy is getting some backlash from consumers and on social media. Recently, the store said customers and employees can use the restroom or fitting room that corresponds with their gender identity. Customer surveys from two separate research firms show Target's reputation has since fallen dramatically.
Well, how about this? Target stock is down about 7% just since mid-April. That's when the company announced its transgender bathroom and changing room policy. Down 7%? Todd Starnes is with us. He believes, I think you believe, that Target is about to cave and back away from this policy.
Oh, something is afoot.
You think?
In Minnesota. Yes, Stuart, I do. Sources tell me that Target has reached out
to the American Family Association. They're the organization that was behind this boycott.
By the way, which has 1.2 million people signing the boycott petition now.
Yeah, huge. As a matter of fact, it's the largest boycott they've ever done in the history of the American Family Association. So anyway, we understand that there's a meeting planned for this week at Target headquarters between Target executives and the American Family Association. It's also my understanding they're going to be hand-delivering those petitions, those boycott petitions, to Target.
See, forget the morality issue, forget that the intimacy and the privacy of the issue. Think of this in terms of a lawsuit. If Target's bathroom policy goes forward, men will be allowed to walk into a women's restroom. And heaven knows what happens at that point. And who's going to take the lawsuit? Target gets the lawsuit.
And that's already started to happen, Stuart.
Really?
Yes. Last week in Frisco, Texas, a man was seen filming a little girl inside a Target dressing room. That man was able to get away, but the local television stations, they posted photographs of the guy. They were able to capture him on surveillance video. But this came the day after the Texas Attorney General sent Target a letter saying, hey, we need to know what you are doing to protect women and children in those bathrooms in your stores here in Texas. So, so there's some serious issues going on here.
To the index into a controversial new law in New York City. New guidelines say bars, restaurants, and nightclubs cannot refuse to serve alcohol to pregnant women. The law calls it a form of discrimination. Medical experts have repeatedly warned about the dangers of drinking while pregnant.
Now to Brooklyn, New York, where an 11-year-old has been charged with a hate crime. He was caught on camera setting fire to a Jewish school bus. Take a look at this security video showing 5 children running into the bus with pieces of cardboard. Flames appear at the front of the bus as the kids run away. You're going to see the flames in just a moment when you see the kids rush into the bus there. Police were able to capture one of the boys, who was arrested, then released to his mother. His fate will be decided later in family or juvenile court. Cops are still searching for 4 other boys who were involved.
3 high school students are facing charges this morning in the beating death of their classmate. The girls, all 16 years old, are accused of causing the death of Amy Joyner Francis last month in Delaware. Officials say that one is charged with the actual assault, the other 2 as being accomplices. Joyner Francis collapsed and died of cardiac arrest after being attacked in her Wilmington High School's bathroom. The fight said to be over a boy.
Backlash brewing against Facebook. The social media site accused of keeping conservative news stories off its trending list. Facebook's responding this morning, and ABC's Rebecca Jarvis is here with the latest. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning to you, George. And this is that list of trending topics that you see on the right side of your news feed when you log in. It determines what a lot of Facebook users ultimately read on the social platform. A former Facebook employee now speaking out anonymously to tech blog Gizmodo, claiming that Facebook workers intentionally suppressed conservative news stories from that list, keeping articles about topics and people like Mitt Romney and Glenn Beck from the list. The former Facebook insider calling it, quote, absolutely biased, saying we were doing it subjectively, George.
Doing it subjectively, but Facebook absolutely denies that. The Facebook executives?
Facebook executives this morning have come out. They have absolutely denied it, George, but there's another element to this story because several former workers also say that they were explicitly instructed by managers to push certain stories into the trending topics section. For example, stories about Black Lives Matter, even if they weren't trending on Facebook. But again, this morning, Facebook is responding to the anonymous allegations, saying, quote, they have found no evidence that they are true and that we do not insert stories artificially into trending topics and do not instruct our reviewers to do so.
The Iran nuclear deal with world powers has gotten a lot of criticism all over the world. And now, a senior White House official is claiming the Obama administration wasn't totally honest about the deal. Ben Rhodes is a senior White House official, and now he's saying that the Obama administration had tried to make the Iranian government seem more moderate in order to get more people to support the nuclear deal. The information was revealed in a New York Times piece written about Rhodes. When he told a reporter the Obama administration claimed it began talks with Iran in 2013, after the country elected a more moderate government, when in fact they began in 2012 under Iran's previous hardline president. In fact, Rhodes claims all of the details for the interterm agreement that the final deal was later based on were all agreed to with the previous radical government, not the new government under Rouhani. Obama even gave a speech saying the negotiations had lasted for 2 years, from 2013 to 2015, while in reality they started an entire year earlier with a different Iranian president. The New York Times reporter also interviewed former head of the CIA, Leon Panetta, who claims the CIA never felt that the Iranian government was split between moderates and radical hardliners. In fact, he claims it was clear that Iran's Revolutionary Guards and Supreme Leader ran the country with a strong arm, rather than it being run by moderates.
Iran's defense minister says the country is now equipped with a Russian-made air defense system. Iran acquired the strategic S-300 system after a long and controversial delivery process. The defense minister said the Iranian version of the system is named Bavar 373. It is able to engage with missiles, drones, and fighter jets. The government displayed parts of the system, including missile tubes and radar equipment, last month during a military parade in Tehran. Iran's defense minister says the missile system will be used for defense. He also denied that Iran recently test-fired a 2,000-kilometer range ballistic missile. The remark contradicts a statement made by an army official on Monday that the Islamic Republic test-fired a ballistic missile with an insignificant margin of error.
Красной площади символ Великой Победы танк Т-34. Право открыть прохождение парадных расчетов предоставлено воинам-танкистам первой гвардейской танковой краснознаменной армии. На Красную площадь вступает будущее поколение российских танков, танк «Армата». Возглавляет
The City of London made history today, swearing in its first Muslim mayor. Jonathan Vigliotti is there.
My name is Sadiq Khan and I'm the mayor of London.
45-year-old Sadiq Khan was officially sworn in this morning, signing the Declaration of Acceptance before a crowd of supporters. In his acceptance speech late last night, the former human rights lawyer and Labour candidate promised to be a mayor for all Londoners.
And I'm so proud that London has today chosen hope over fear and unity over division.
Khan had to overcome fear campaigns launched by his opponents. Conservative candidate Zach Goldsmith, a billionaire's son, once attacked Khan's former advocacy work for criminal defendants, saying he gave a platform to extremists. Khan has called the claim unfounded and racist.
Please make sure your vote's really important.
In the end, Khan took home 57% of the vote to become the most powerful Muslim in European politics.
The British government admits that millions of dollars in relief aid it sent to Syria may have been diverted to Daesh terrorists. The revelations have been made in a report by the Department for International Development, which is in charge of foreign aid. It says $7 million worth of relief aid was sent to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. Items were meant to reach Palestinian refugees in Syria. The report doesn't explain exactly how the aid has fallen into the hands of the terrorists.
Iconic red buses in London and public transport in other UK cities will carry banner adverts featuring the Arabic phrase Subhanallah, which means glory be to God. The campaign by an Islamic charity is aimed at changing the climate surrounding the Muslim community. The posters will appear on buses during Ramadan, which begins on June the 6th and lasts until July the 7th. Adverts will run on 460 buses in cities with high Muslim population like London, Birmingham, Manchester, Leicester and Bradford. Organisers hope it will present Islam in a positive way and encourage British Muslims to donate to humanitarian efforts for Syrian people.
When it started, it was all about welcome. But with thousands of asylum seekers from Muslim countries arriving in Germany, there's been a dramatic shift in public perception of Islam. 61% of Germans polled recently said it had no place in Germany, compared to 47% back in January. Those on the streets of Berlin put this down to fear.
Now life will be different for everyone. We are afraid that something will happen, a bomb explosion or something like that. We have a lot of Muslims here. They are all covered up.
We don't know who's coming. There are people from all over: Kosovo, Syria, Pakistan, Afghanistan. If we are honest, we don't know who we are letting in. ISIL says they want to conquer Europe.
We can't invite the whole world to Germany. It's my town Passau which is the first stop. Wake up, this is insanity.
As the right-wing anti-immigration Alternative for Germany is enjoying a rise in popularity, the German Chancellor is warning against a return to nationalism.
Either we defend Europe's external borders and learn to protect them together, or we're going to fall back on nationalism.
German police have arrested a man for stabbing several people at a train station near Munich early this morning. Officers are investigating eyewitness reports the assailant yelled Allahu Akbar, which is Arabic for God is great, as he committed the crime. But officials also raised the possibility the man was mentally disturbed. The suspect is a 27-year-old German citizen, and he attacked his victims with a 4-inch knife. At least one person is dead, several are wounded. This attack comes at a sensitive time for the country, following an influx of more than 1 million migrants last year and growing concerns about how to deal with them.
Stargazers across the world got to see a rare sight Monday. Mercury passed between the Earth and Sun for the first time since 2006. The phenomenon, called Mercury in transit, happens on average 13 times every century. Depending on where you live, if you looked at the sun with proper telescope equipment, of course, you could see Mercury as a tiny black dot as it traveled across the face of the sun.
And well, here's something you don't see every day. The National Weather Service is calling this probably the best aurora display in Seattle in a decade.
The northern lights are more often seen farther north, of course, and at least one observer noted, look at the colors there, green lights were green, just like the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, a little team spirit in the sky.
Yeah.
No, you're not buying it?
Yeah, a little synergy. Very nice.
Americans are on alert for tornadoes. Massive monster twisters have been marauding across the plains, causing extensive damage. And tonight, we are out with the storm chasers. How do they stay safe, and how can you? ABC's Candace Whitworth reporting from Oklahoma.
Tonight, heartache in the heartland as a series of twisters touched down just hours ago. Wow! A tornado emergency issued in populated parts of Oklahoma. This monster storm even crisscrossing a busy highway.
Continues to make its way closer and closer to I-35.
Coco TV meteorologist Damon Lane warning viewers to take cover.
From Joy to Davis, you're in the path of the storm. You need to be going into your tornado shelter or the innermost room of your house immediately.
In its wake, several homes destroyed, trees mangled, these cars at a standstill. So far, 2 deaths have been reported. At least 20 million Americans bracing tonight for severe weather. More than 16 reported twisters today. And now, new tornado watches in Louisiana and Arkansas, where winds up to 80 miles an hour tore through an airfield. In Nebraska, flooding and softball-sized hail pounding down, shattering car windows.
We are just now leaving Tulsa, and we heard there is yet another tornado warning. This time it's in Pawnee. We've already seen 2 tornadoes touch down, so it's already been a very active day. We're following the radar as well, and we're going to keep driving to see what we can find.
This series of storms following a weekend of wild weather. This monster twister touching down near Ray, Colorado.
Hey, check those people over there!
Storm chaser Gabe Cox getting uncomfortably close.
When we came out on that road and it was sitting in front of us, it was probably the most amazing tornado we had seen.
Watching the storm go from a thin streak to a quarter-mile wide behemoth.
Oh my God.
Oklahoma, of all places, is being rattled by unprecedented surge in earthquakes. 2 new small quakes hit just overnight. The state last year averaged more than 2 every day at magnitude 3 or higher. Before 2009, Oklahoma averaged 2 earthquakes a year.
A wave of small earthquakes shaking Mount St. Helens in recent days, and experts say more than 100 quakes have actually occurred underneath the Washington State volcano over the last several weeks. British scientists have discovered that northeast China's Changbai Mountains are an active volcano. The Changbai Mountain Range lies along the northern borders of China and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Several British scientists visited the DPRK, set up a seismic station, and spent 2 years working on real-time observations on the southern fringe of the mountains. They acquired an image of the Earth's crust structure underneath the mountains, proving them to be an active volcano. Research has also shown that the Changbai Mountains had the world's biggest eruption about 2,000 years ago.
right, you are looking live in Chicago right now, where they're conducting what they call a People at Planet First budget, a coalition called Fair Economy Illinois, making a push for $23 billion in new revenue that will come from a variety of taxes on the wealthy, traders at the CME and elsewhere, to put things up for everything from education to more bus service, train service, better transportation. It covers a broad panoply of issues, but a lot of this sounds familiar. It's because this same city was grappling with these same frozen budget issues. They have a Democratic legislature, a Republican governor, and nothing has been solved, and people are getting angry. And it's something we see playing out across the globe. In Greece today, protests in Athens.
Greeks have rallied for a third day outside the parliament in Athens over new tax and pension reforms. The proposed legislation is due to be voted on by lawmakers later today. Athens hopes to implement the reforms as part of a multi-billion-euro bailout. The debt-laden country said the measure will raise Social Security contributions, increase income taxes on high earners, and introduce a new national pension. It will also gradually phase out a top-up pension for low-income earners. But demonstrators said the reforms were the last nail in the coffin for workers and pensioners who have sacrificed enough during 6 years of austerity.
Today, the working class must send a message. With this unemployment and part-time work, the low-income earners, the self-employed, the unemployed cannot live on salaries and pensions of 300 to 400 euros.
Thousands of people from across Italy have gathered in Rome, the capital, for a demonstration against the transatlantic trade and investment partnership between the European Union and the U.S. They argue the planned trade deal would hand too much power to big multinational corporations at the expense of European consumers and workers.
At least 5,000 people marched through the streets of Rome on Saturday in protest against a planned free trade agreement between the European Union and the United States. Businesses hope that the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, or TTIP, will deliver over 100 billion euros of economic gains on both sides of the Atlantic. However, anti-TTIP movements deem the deal as anti-democratic and fear it will lower food safety, labor and environmental standards.
The TTIP strips away obstacles to large corporations making profits. Obstacles such as regulations that protect people's privacy, the environment and food safety will be swept away. Moreover, it further opens up public services to private companies, motivated primarily by profit rather than people's needs.
Son of Osama bin Laden is urging jihadis fighting in Syria to unite, saying they should use the battlefield in Syria to liberate Jerusalem. Bin Laden's son Hamza claims the whole world is uniting against Muslims, so Muslims must also unite. He claims the fight for Jerusalem is something the different factions can rally around, and even says the group should make Jerusalem their focus rather than their differences in Syria. This all comes as the current al-Qaeda leader released a message urging the different jihadi groups in Syria to unite.
حرب جديدة لكننا لا نسمح إطلاقا بهذه التغولات والتوغلات وفرض الوقائع على أهلنا وعلى غزتنا المحاصرة بل نحن نطالب برفع الحصار.
Things are heating up on the Gaza border, and Hamas is apparently gearing up to fight against Israel. This morning, IDF soldiers came under fire while patrolling along the Gaza border, which is the latest in a series of escalations this week. No one was injured, and the soldiers returned fire, damaging a post belonging to Hamas's military wing without injuring anyone. Yesterday, shots also were fired at an Israeli army vehicle from the Gaza Strip. Again, no one was injured, but the fire seriously damaged IDF engineering machinery, and the army is still looking for the shooter. No one has claimed the attack, which comes as tensions are rising between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Israel revealed today that it stopped attempts to smuggle shipments of ammonium chloride into Gaza in recent weeks. The chemical is mostly used in fertilizer, but it's also used to make explosives, and it could have been used to make hundreds of rockets. Israel says it found more than 4 tons of the chemical buried in salt shipments to the Gaza Strip. The tax authority said it originally became suspicious when a Hamas-linked importer placed an order for 36 tons of salt, and Israel's security forces believe the shipment would have been used by Hamas to produce long-range rockets. The Israeli army has confirmed that it's found a second tunnel stretching into Israel from southern Gaza. The IDF says it's been in Gaza this week to find the tunnel and its passageways, and troops were fired on while working to uncover it. The tunnel was found about 100 meters inside Gaza and crosses into Israel, but the IDF hasn't revealed how deep it runs into Israeli territory. This all comes as tensions are flaring on the Gaza border, with Hamas repeatedly firing on Israeli troops, and the Israeli Air Force striking several Hamas military targets last night.
Israel's prime minister has vowed to continue the hunt for Hamas tunnels, and this comes amid exchanges of fire on the Gaza border. Benjamin Netanyahu made the remarks during a cabinet meeting today. He said Israel does not want any escalation of violence in Gaza, but will respond if security is threatened.